In this video, I'll show you how to prepare for AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional Exam. I passed it last week, and I'll give you the information you need to pass it yourself. First of all, I'll talk a little bit about my solution architect professional experience, or journey if you want to call it. You can skip this part if you are just interested in the how-tos. You can skip to I have been working with cloud for a long time, but for AWS, I mainly just use S3 and EC2. And 2 years ago, I decided to get to know the other services offered by AWS. Uh, there are like hundreds of AWS services, and I wanted to get a good idea at least some of the core services, like what they do and what they're for and how to use them. So I set up a goal that is to pass the solution architect professional exam. So I book the associate level exam and give myself 2 weeks to prepare. You might ask, why associate? I thought your goal was professional. Well, because at that time I thought I had to pass associate before I can take on professional. But I didn't know. Just 1 month prior, Amazon just announced they got rid of that requirement, and you no longer need to have associate certificate in order to go professional. You can go straight to professional. But I didn't see the announcement. Uh, but it was all good because at the time I wouldn't pass it anyway. For associate exam, I used A Cloud Guru. The course is taught by this guy Ryan. I thought he's the founder of A Cloud Guru. This course is very good. I highly recommend it. And although the price has risen by a lot, and I think I paid for, hold on, $10 for it. Now it's you have to pay $35 a month for a subscription. So after I passed the associate, because I was doing a deep learning project at that time, I saw Amazon machine learning specialty was in beta, and its registration fee is very affordable. And so I booked that exam and give myself 1 week to prepare. Because I already know some machine learning, and SageMaker was just a Jupyter notebook, so I was able to pass it in a week. Next, I started to prepare for professional exam because I saw there were a lot of overlapping between DevOps engineer and the solution architect. I decided to prepare for the two professional exams simultaneously. I thought if I study for solution architect, I might as well study for DevOps engineer. So for DevOps, I booked a Udemy course by Linux Academy. And for solution architect, I used Zio Vora's course. So also on Udemy. And I bought a practice exam from WizLabs. That's all I used for preparing for these two exams. And the result is this. I passed the DevOps but failed the solution architect. But still, I consider mission accomplished because my original goal was to learn AWS. Doing exams was just the main, and I wasn't looking for jobs like with AWS anyway. So I didn't continue study for SA Pro. But since then, from time to time, fail this failed exam come back to my mind, and I was a little bit bothered by it. Like I have unfinished business. So after 2 years, I thought I'd give it another try. And this time I studied it for 2 weeks and I passed it. So I put the study resources for passing the exam in this GitHub. I will put the link in the description of this video. Other than the free readiness class, I bought these 3 online courses. So I will talk about each one of them a little bit. Marek's course it's very good, has very good information on AWS services. It doesn't have any hands-on. For example, I don't remember I saw a single screenshot of AWS console, and it's all PowerPoint. And I don't think you can rely on this course alone. With Labs course does have labs, but it's still mostly high level description and doesn't get into detail. Zilvora's course is detailed, but maybe a little too detailed. The guy is very knowledgeable and really know his stuff. He does a lot of hands-ons. Now, if you ask me if I can only buy one course out of these 3, what would I buy? I will go with Vora's course. But I think this course is best used as a reference course for other courses. Like if you have a gap in your knowledge about the services and wanted to go a little bit deeper, you watch the Zilvora's video. However, if you are considering buying this class, I must give you 2 warnings. The first is this: you see, I bought this 2 years ago, and the instructor have kept this course updated. See, but which I very much appreciate. However, there are still a few topics that are outdated. I hope they will be updated later. The second issue is the guy has a somewhat thick Indian accent. It might be an issue for some people. I personally have no problem with the accent. I watch him at double speed with no problem. I actually have more problem with the other course, the Marek one. I had to slow him down to 1.5 speed to make sense of what he was talking about. Anyway, if these 2 issues is a deal breaker, then don't buy the course. But I personally think it's a great reference course, even as of today. For the 3 other courses, if you go YouTube or Reddit, you see some people rave about this course, Adrian Cantrell's course. But I can give you a suggestion on these 3 courses because I didn't take them. You will have to do your own research on which one to take and to buy. Uh, if you want, you can buy all of them. So why not maximize the chance of passing, right? And all of them combined, I calculated, it costs about $200. It still costs less than the registration fee, $300. Now let's talk about practice exam. I bought all of this except Davis one. But don't be like me and don't waste your money. You only need 1 or 2. Obviously, don't buy this one because it's only one test. Pick any 2 of other 4. I did all 4 Bonzo's test. I did 2 brain cert. I did 3 Wheat Labs. And I did 3 of these 4 tests twice, and I did all other tests just one time. They all have different issues like typos, errors, and grammar. Sometimes the question and answer choice doesn't make sense at all. But still, they are absolutely necessary. And believe me, you need to do them. I would say they are even more important uh, than online courses. You should spend more time on practice exam than on online courses, because each test is 3 hours. You probably need to spend another 2 or 3 hours to review, and if you do it 2 times, we're talking about 10 hours on just one test. I will give you a small tip on doing the practice test. When you see a question that you are less than 70 or 80% sure of the correct answer, just don't answer it. Leave it blank. Don't just pick a random answer, because if the answer you randomly pick turn out to be the correct one, you just mask your knowledge gap. You will probably skip it for review, and you don't want to do that because these are practice tests. We're not trying to pass, we're trying to learn. If you leave it blank, let me give you an example. Oh, by the way, I never once passed any of the any practice test. See, I got 61%. So here you can, if you leave it blank, you can just review the incorrect one and the blank. You can skip the correct ones, and that will hopefully save your some time. Now for other resources, you might want to do this before you come up with a study plan for the exam. And during the preparation, if you have time, do this. I did read some dev guide. I don't think I read any white papers because what you need to know is pretty much covered by the online courses. If you unfamiliar with a service, you can just Google like service name and FAQs. For example, Global Accelerator. You can just Google FAQ and click the first one and read about it. Now let's get into another topic that's hands-on. You don't need to do any hands-on to pass this exam. You can pass it by doing just video course and practice test. But I strongly suggest doing them, the hands-on, like some labs, pet project, or even real project. You will learn a lot more, and you will have a better understanding of what you learn in video course. If you just cram the practice test and pass the real exam, that's good for you. Who doesn't cram for exam, right? You cram for SAT, GRE, LSAT, and MCAT, right? There's no shame in doing the cramming. If you ultimately just want to pass the exam, by all means cram. But if you eventually want to do the real work with AWS, you will be much better prepared by doing lots of hands-on. For the rest of this video, I will be doing a little bit hands-on that should help you to get a better handle on things like VPC, Subnet, CloudFront, and some other core AWS services. So the next hour are all hands-on. It might be extremely boring for you. You can skip all of them. But before you go, let's hear some valuable advice from the instructor in the official AWS Solution Architect Professional Readiness course.
If you don't want your pants to fall down, you use a belt and a suspenders, and you'll nail them to your hips, and you'll pay someone to walk along behind you and hold them up. You keep your pants up at all times. Seriously, Mike, I'm looking at you. Keep your pants on. This is important.
Good advice. Keep your pants on. Let's start with VPC and Subnet. I'm not going to explain this concept because you should already know them. You can delete the default VPC that Amazon created for you, or you can leave it alone. I deleted, so there's no subnet here in the Oregon region. So I'll just say I have my VPC 16 and everything default. So then I'll create subnet, two subnet. First is let's just call subnet 1 and A 10.0.0.0.24. And create a second subnet. Let's see, like B. Okay, now we created two subnet. Now let's create a gateway, internet gateway. Now let's attach this gateway to VPC. So attach VPC. Now let's connect one of our subnet to internet gateway. new route. So we'll add the internet gateway. What? Okay. So we have two route table. We'll route one to subnet 1 and this to subnet 2. This one will be associated with subnet 1 and this one will be associated with subnet 2. Okay. So now we have two subnets. One is public, one is private. What's the difference between a public subnet and private subnet? A public subnet, this subnet 1 has a route to internet gateway. That's the only difference. Now let's create an instance in each of the subnet. Go EC2. So I have no instance running. I'll select default. My VPC, select subnet 1, enable. I'll add a ping. Launch. I use my existing key pair. So now our instance is being created. Okay, now our instance is running. So we can log into this instance. So now we are able to log in. So we connect to the internet. Now let's launch one in this private subnet. So we'll use 2, yes. We'll select the same one. And it's being created. Let's give it name. This one is C2. It's private EC2. So now they're both running. Let's ping this. We use private IPv4. We can ping it from. We can ping the second EC2 from the first one, but we cannot log into it because it's private. Let me try. Even though it does have a public IP address. Okay, we cannot log in. what we can, so how can I get access to the second EC2? Well, we can reach the second one from the first one, from within the first one. So I'll copy the key. Oh, so I'll copy the key to the first one. Let's do this. First one. EC2 user. So here, so we copy the our private key to the public instance. Now we can use this private key to log into the second instance. So the second instance is this private EC2. Yes. So you see, we cannot log in. Why? Because this is public IP. It doesn't have our second instance doesn't have a public access. So we have to use the private IP. So I have to use this one. Now we're able to log in. So this is our second instance. If you ping, it will not. You will not able to ping outside. Like if you do, it won't work because it's in private subnet. Let's log into first one. Keep forgetting. So this is first one. This is second one. You can see the private IP here. If you want to know the public IP, you can do this. And then I think it's latest meta data public IP for, yeah. Here's the public IP. Copy this. Here is the first one's public IP. So how do we access to outside from this private subnet? If you remember the your video class, you know we need to use a net gateway. So let's do that. Let's go back to VPC and we'll create it net gateway. So which one should I choose? Public or private? If you want to give public access to the private subnet, you need to put the net gateway in the public subnet, not private subnet. So we need to choose this one. So now it's pending. Still pending. So now it's available. So now let's change the route table that's associated with the private subnet. So it's this one. So we'll add a route. So select net gateway. Now let's go back to our instance. Now let's ping Google. You see, now we are able to ping Google. This private EC2 instance can access outside, but outside cannot access to this one. Let's try it. So let's go back to EC2. Private. Let's ping it. Okay. We cannot ping it. We cannot access to this EC2. But now, because it has a net gateway, it can do update. Now let's rehash what we did here. So we created VPC with the C-Cider 16. Then we created a subnet. We created two subnet. So one public, one private. So the public cider is so this public subnet 10.0.0.0.24 and created private subnet. So private subnet 10.0.1.0.24. And we create a EC2 in each subnet. So this EC2 is it has a public. Let me go back to this is private. Now let's go to public. This has a public IP and private IP It's fine. We also create EC2 in the private subnet. Gets private IP statistics. Public IP doesn't matter because we can use it anyway. And then in order to give internet access to this EC2, we created we have a internet gateway somewhere, like here. We call it internet gateway. And in order to give access to internet access to this private EC2, we also create a net gateway. So this is net gateway. Okay. This is what we did. Now let's go back to EC2. So if you now have a requirement to access S3 from this private EC2, can you do it? Because we haven't configured. Now we configured AWS, we should be able to access S3. I think, so I have this file here. Now if we copy this file, copy, now it's copied. So now let's get rid of our net gateway to remove the access. We delete this. So now we again lost the internet access, and we can't even do S3. It doesn't work. So in this case, how can you access S3 from a private subnet? The answer is VPC endpoint. So I will create a S3 endpoint. Okay. So create end. So now we created VPC endpoint for S3. So associate with the second subnet. Now let's go back to our route table and see. Okay, now it's here. Now let's go back to our EC2 and try to list S3. Now we are able to list it. And let me delete this file. We'll copy this again. Okay. So even though we don't have internet access, we were able to access S3 from our private EC2 instance. Let's go back, undo what we did. So we delete this. Delete this endpoint. Why I still have this? Okay. I delete it. Yeah, now it's gone. The VPC endpoint is gone. So that's it for VPC endpoint. Now let's talk about VPC pairing. To show you the VPC pairing, I need to create another VPC. So I'm gonna do it in Singapore region. So you see here, I have no VPC, no subnet, no route table. So I don't want to do it like create a VPC subnet all over again. I'm gonna use a cloud formation to do to create all the resources automatically. So here's the cloud formation template. So it's basically just create a VPC, create an internet gateway, and attach the gateway to VPC, create a public subnet inside the VPC, and oh, by the way, I use the CIDR block 0.100. In Oregon, we use 0.000. And we create a route table and associate the route table. And we create a security group that will be used by EC2. Then we create a EC2 with Elastic IP. So let's go to CloudFormation. If you see, if I go to EC2, so I have no instance. I do have a key pair that will be used for EC2. So let's go to CloudFormation and create stack, upload template. I'll just use the one my VPC. So next, so I keep everything default. And create stack. When I click create stack, it will create all the resources like VPC subnet, route table, and security group, and EC2. So I'll just refresh. So it'll start creating all this. Let's give it a few more minutes. Okay, it seems to complete now. Let's go to VPC. So I'll create a VPC subnet and the route table. Let's go to EC2. So you see now we have EC2 running. So let's copy this IP and try to log in. Okay, we were able to log in. Now the question is, how can I connect to this EC2? Can I do this? Like, let me just copy it. So this is US West. Okay. West 2. Oh, so annoying. Wait, what? Oh, Jesus. So can we do this? Now we have the key. So let's log in. Let's try to log in. So it's at 10.01.254. Yeah, we won't be able to write because there's no route to this EC2. So what we need to do is to connect two VPC together using VPC Pairing. So let's do that. So go back to VPC Pairing. So now our VPC pairing is created we need to go back to US West region, West 2 region, and accept the peering. So it's pending accepted. So now the peering is accepted. Now we need to modify our route table to use this peering. So we'll go to route table. So LB10 1 0 0 6. And we need to do the same thing from the other side, from the Singapore side. So now we should be able to connect from Singapore to the private EC2 in Oregon. So let's try this again. So now we're logging. So here's what we did. We created a second VPC in Singapore. And we created a public subnet and EC2 instance. So this is and our own types of IP. And to connect these two VPC together, we used peering. So So that's why we were able to log into the private subnet from Singapore. So that's it for VPC subnet, VPC endpoint, net gateway, VPC peering, and a little bit cloud formation. Now I'll delete the CloudFormation template from Singapore. So just delete. Now it's finally deleted. I think the because the VPC pairing it's not created by CloudFormation. It's manually added. So that's prevent CloudFormation from delete the stack. So you see, once you're deleted your CloudFormation, the VPC is gone. Well, it's still showing pairing. Okay, and the VPC is also gone. So anything that's any resource that associate that created by the CloudFormation will also be deleted, unless you have a deletion policy of retain. Now let's turn to CloudFront. Let's go back to US West 2. First, I will create a S3 bucket for our website. So that's our domain name. And enable public access. Great. So I will just create a index file, a simple index file. So we enable static site. So we'll need to set bucket policy. Okay, now it worked. Now let's go to CloudFront. We'll create a new distribution. So this is our S3 bucket. And now it's deployed. Actually, we should use the regional S3 name instead of global one. You can still use the global one. It just takes a long time to propagate. Now let's try our domain. Okay, it works. And let's go back to S3. So our static domain still works. Now let's disable the static domain. So we disable. Then we get rid of that bucket policy. So delete. And we block public access. So now, will our website still work? I don't think so. It should be a cache issue. So it's because of cache, this website continues working. Let's try this. Let's try access a website from our EC2. So now it says forbidden. Okay. How can I access S3 from CloudFront? We use OAI, Origin Access Identity. So let's go back to CloudFront. So create OAI. Let's see. And we will do this. So restrict bucket access. Use the one we just created. And yes, update bucket policy. Otherwise, it won't work. So now let's go back to S3 and make sure the bucket policy is updated. So here, we just deleted the bucket policy. Now it's updated by CloudFront. So let's wait for this to become deployed. Okay, so now the status is deployed. We can go back to our terminal and do this again. See, now it works. So now the website is set up and the S3 is secure. Nothing can access this S3 bucket except from CloudFront. But S3 is for static files. What about dynamic content? Let's add a dynamic site to our website. So we will use EC2 for dynamic. I will reuse the one we created earlier. This one. So let's go back to our terminal. So this is a private EC2. So we don't want to do this. Do it here. This one is public. So if we do so the IP is 254.64. That's this one. So we'll quickly set up a website. Okay, it should be up and running. Oh no, we forgot the security group. So go ahead, add found HTTP. Okay. Oh. Okay. Now we should be able to access it. Oh, it's not started. Okay. Okay, now it worked. For static content, I will use PHP. Yes, PHP. Because it's the quickest way to set up a dynamic website. Okay, now our PHP works. Now let's change this to display a date. So we'll go this. So every time we refresh, the state changes because CloudFront doesn't use EC2 directly. So we have to put our EC2 behind a load balancer. So we'll create a load balancer. Okay, now our load balancer is active. Okay. I think I forgot to register the service, the instance. Okay, now it's healthy. Okay, load balancer works. Now let's add this load balancer to our CloudFront. So we will create a new region. Okay, now it's there. So we'll do HTTP. So uh, everything end with PHP will go to load balancer. Catch, because it's dynamic, so we'll disable cache. So I kept getting this problem. It's intermittent. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And so finally, I added another EC2 instance. I created another subnet and add another EC2, and then add the EC2 to this load balancer. Now it works. So this EC2 works. There are two EC2. So this second EC2, this first EC2, and this load balancer, it should get either this or this. So sometime it get the first one, sometime it gets second one. And finally, this should work now. Yeah. So you see, if I don't specify PHP, it goes to my S3. If I use PHP, it will fetch dynamic content from a load balancer, which fetch either from either one of these EC2. Now let's try call our static content from within the dynamic page. So I have two GIF, so I'll put in our EC2. So this should show, so it will not work because the picture doesn't exist in EC2. It exists in S3. Let's try add a second one. God. The second one also doesn't work. Same. Load balancer is the same. But this should work. See, if we load from our domain name, it works. I hope this gives you some idea about CloudFront, how to set up static and dynamic content. I will end the video here. Please check out the GitHub. Good luck on your exam.